Now,
Yeah,
the the word Jackdaw is actually the pub that is literally less than 1 mile away from the woods we use. And
yeah.
it was used in the Battle of Britain. The Spitfire pilots used to drink there. It's been
Okay.
around since the 1800s.
And is it what inspired this Project Jackdaw?
Um,
is it your own was it your own idea? Did it just formulate out of? Did it grow?
yeah, it formulated, but believe it or not, right, if you ask most veterans, yeah, there couldn't be anything worse than having a fucking camp out in the woods after spending so long in the army. No one wants to do it because I've spent so much time, like people say, camping, in the army. It's not in the,
Yeah.
especially in the infantry, sitting in trenches filled with water, because the army trains in all weathers. If it's
Mm.
raining, the army won't say, "Oh, we're not going out today, boys." You name it, I've laid in it. It's so when I got out of the army and someone went camping, go, piss off, am I camping? And then
Yeah.
about 2 years ago, um, I just one day just went, you know what, the weather's absolutely great, and I said to a couple of my mates, right, listen, let's do a wild camp. Let's grab it. Let's grab a little tent each. Let's grab a barbecue. Let's grab some beers, and let's go up to one of the army training areas because there's
So,
loads
so,
in Kent.
so wait, so you didn't ever want to go camping, and then all of a sudden it just clicked, did it? What,
Do they call it an epiphany? I don't know. So it just clicked. It just went. I went, "Do you know what? Let's do it."
instincts of some
We went
sort.
up there, and yeah, my wife was away on holiday, so I didn't have to ask permission from God. And then, and then, so we did that, and I thought, Christ, what a release! I enjoyed it. And
Okay.
then we done it a couple of more times, and then one of my mates went, "Cool, this would be good, setting up some sort of organisation for veterans to do." And I was like, "Well, yeah." So we sat in a pub. We sat in a pub watching an Arsenal Man City game because I'm an Arsenal fan, and then I am. We wrote down on a bit of paper how can we do this? What can we call it? We come out with some ideas, come out with some logos, um, and we started like that. We started. It all originated from the pub,
Yeah.
um,
And
and then
from that camping, from that one session, was it the first session? It just
yeah, yeah,
originated out of that.
from that first session, I
So
sat there and
what
went, "Is it?"
happened in that first session? How many people were there? What was that? What were they?
There was myself, one of my best army mates, and two of my teacher mates who are not army. And then after that, I'd done it a couple more times. I got more people involved. And then one of my lads, who's called Kai, he's our well-being leader. Um, he told me there's a niche for this for mental health. So my mate Kai is all about mental health and
Mm,
well-being and what
yeah.
check-ins and stuff like that. And he said there's a niche for this. So so we sat down and got it going. We done one camp, and I invited all my army mates down
Hmm.
because I didn't know who else to, and they all loved it.
Mm,
And then after that, I thought, right, where can I go from this? What do I do? How do I do this? And then I got hold of the army in my old regiment, and they're based in the Tower of London. So the Princess of Wales Royal Regiment, their regimental headquarters is based in the Tower of London.
okay.
Um, so I contacted them. Now, they are quite well off as a charity. Um, they were a little bit brash for me at first because they were like, "Well, someone tried doing this before." They didn't give me a name. I've got a rough idea it was. Someone tried doing it before. So I went, "Okay, all right. I'll tell you what, I will do it. I will show you the commitment we're doing, and then you come and see." So they were a bit unsure, and then they said it was a great concept, but and actually I've done a little bit of homework to find out if there's any more veterans camps. There isn't. There are veterans running camps as a business. That's fair enough. Everyone's got to
Hmm.
make money, but there wasn't any camps that were running for free. To help veterans with PTSD. There isn't any. I've looked. So I invited these guys down because they're the ones with the purse strings. Look, come down, and I want you to take part and immerse yourself in a camp. They come down. His name was Paul Senator. He's the deputy regimental secretary. He come down. I met him. He gave himself up to the camp. He done the activities, which was shooting and bushcraft. So I have another lad. His name's Neil Andrews. He's called Greencraft. He's
Yeah.
quite big on YouTube, and he's done some stuff for us. He's part of our team now. It's like an add-on, but he's really good. We've done some whittling. We made some bookmarks out of ours. And when you get 15 burly veterans who've been all around the world, quiet, making woodwork, mate, then you know you're onto something. Because if someone said that to me 20 odd years ago, let's make a spoon or a bookmark out of wood, I'd just tell them to fuck off, I ain't doing it. So, but actually, you know, we all sat there and we all took pride in it. I think mine's around there somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, we did that, and then after that, we cooked food around a campfire. So we've done some more bushcrafting, shooting, and then the last activity of the day is a mental health check-in. My mate Kai does various conversations, and it comes from there. And believe it or not, veterans start opening up. So no one is forced to talk. No one is like, if I'm in the middle of the fire like Kai does, he doesn't pinpoint or point to a veteran ever. If no one wants to talk, no one wants to talk. But I've never had a camp yet where no one is not talking. So a mental health check-in could go on for how long my mate Kai feels comfortable that it's going well. So they generally last about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. After that, we then do a big cheese board. So we do a massive cheese board and pork round a fire. So that's one of our things that veterans like. They do like the cheese board in the woods. It's quite a niche for us. And then obviously people can stay up if they wish. We don't condone alcohol. We've had a lot of alcohol companies get involved, and we've declined it.
Yeah.
Because I said we don't condone alcohol. I'm not interested if a bloke brings a couple of craft beers around a fire. That's all good because it's all your personal choice. I've had lads turn up that don't drink. No one's forced to drink. I don't drink because me and my team don't actually drink on when we're doing our camp. Why? Because we're wearing our Op-Jackdaw t-shirts. We've got to be aware all the time. We're looking after the veterans. And the last thing I want is one of my lads pissed up, starts being an idiot, and then we get a bad name. So, and it's like a job. Yeah. Does that make sense? We're in with them, but it's like a job. But the army now is 110% behind us. I left my work.
What size are the groups that you have, Paul? What's the
so the army? The army
I'm
said,
interested.
Look, how many...
I'm interested in the ingredients. So
right. So on regarding obviously. Wild camping in England is illegal. I don't know what the rules and regulations are for Ireland, but Scotland, you can camp anywhere. Literally, there's no rule. So you either got to have your own piece of green belt here, or you've got to get permission granted. There's no point me running a wild camp and not getting permission granted because you don't want the police rocking up and then our name's going to be crap. So what I've done was emailed quite a wealthy large landowner in Kent, and it is the lad that owns a massive farm. It's called Chittenden Hall. Tappington Hall. So Tappington Hall is actually the house that the Knights went to after they murdered Thomas à Becket. That's where they ran to. So the bloke that owns that, it's never changed in however long. He's a very nice landowner. I wrote to him. I wrote a letter because I didn't have his email address. And within 2-3 days, he emailed me because I sent me email there. Met him, and he went, "You've got 150 acres of woods.
Wow,
it's yours." Now he hasn't given it to me as a document. He's went, "It's yours. All I need is the dates that when you want to use it, and you will get no grief from me. And do what you need to do with it." So obviously, and you know yourself when you go camping, one thing for us is we leave no trace. We've even taken rubbish away when there are people that do go camping and they shouldn't be camping there. So we leave no trace. The landowner's given us that wood. So we already have permission granted to use the woods all year round. So that's the number one thing you must have if you run an organisation.
That's first ingredient, yeah.
Oh, massively first ingredient. Well, actually, the first ingredient is the team. You've got to have a good team. Now, my team are all great bunch of lads. I've known them a very long time. We all connect well. We don't fall out. That's all about having a good team connection. Then the land, and then what are you going to do? We don't want any veteran to be bored. We don't want them to turn up and go, "What's going on now?" while we're sitting around a campfire. So we have an itinerary of what we do throughout the whole day, and we send that out. There may be a half hour, an hour slippage on timing, but it runs like that. The Jackdaw pub is the other ingredient because the landlord and landlady there, i.e. Graham and Michelle, they're absolutely brilliant. So we don't want loads of cars in the woods because you're taking away that, would you say, that naturist element. You're taking away because it looks like a car park. We don't want that. We want it to be as raw as possible. And they look after the cars. So all the veterans, so I had that lad Floyd from Green Valley. He came down from Wales. He's a veteran. We've had lads from Sussex, Essex. So the veterans now, the veteran community now is coming from far and field.
Yeah.
So these guys, all I asked at the veterans, we meet them at the pub. As I said, we don't promote alcohol, so they can have the deal is a hot drink, a cold drink, alcohol or beverage, or something to eat. That's all the pub require. Yeah. And we do make them a lot of money because some of the lads, I don't mind, they'll have 2-3 pints. That's all good. But we do give them a little waiver to say, if we feel that you're under the influence and you're being a bit of a knob, we don't obviously put knob in that, but if you're being a bit of a prat, yeah, we will tell you to, go away. But we haven't had that, only that first episode. And the pub look after the cars. So all the cars are in the car park. The landlord locks the gate at the end of the night. Within an hour or 2 hours of us meeting everybody, we walk all the veterans up to the woods. It's less than a 1 mile walk. And it's good for them to get back into the routine of carrying a Bergen, because some of these lads will be like yourself. They could be shut in office. They're going out all the time. They got no release. So to get on the old rucksack again and do that 1 mile up a hill, it's bringing back all the memories straight away. So that's good. And obviously we don't have any cars. But we do have some veterans that are disabled. I do have a lad, and you may have heard of him, the Nepalese double amputee lad that done Everest. Do you know him?
Yeah.
He's coming to one of our camps.
Wow.
So he's got in contact, and he wants to come and do a motivational speech around the campfire to, I think it's the end of this month or in May's camp. So I'll get that documented and YouTube, and I'll get that sent to you.
How often are you running the camps now? How often do they happen?
So you've got our website address, haven't you?
Yeah.
So if you look on there and you go to book a slot, they run the last Saturday of every month all the way up until October.
Okay.
And the reason why we don't go October onwards is 2 reasons. Number one, the landowner has sold the permission for shooting to a company that does shooting for pheasants. So pheasant shooting goes from October to February.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's number one. Number two, me and my team hate the cold. Number three, it gives us time to then plan for the following year, which worked quite well with all our next year's worth of dates. If we are to do a camp in October onwards, my dad got so interested in it, he bought us our own woods. So we also own our own woods, and that is just outside Dover in Kent. And that's 12 acres. And we have the shooting rights on that as well. So I haven't done an overnight up there yet. I took my boy and my wife shooting up there the other day. She wasn't overly happy getting a hunter wellies dirty, even though that's what they're for, but that's women for you. But I did lend it out to Chris Waits and Floyd to go and check it out, camp up there, let me know their thoughts on it. So if we're going to continue October onwards, I can use that.
Yeah.
Now, so they're the sort of ingredients you want. The one, your team. 2, you need land. 3, you need itinerary. What I don't want to do is do loads of army stuff. Veterans don't want to do loads of army stuff. They do like the shooting element because it's competition. And you may have seen in that YouTube video, we got a lot of Easter eggs because it was Easter weekend, and we gave them out to the top scorers and stuff like that. Things like that go down a little. It's all a bit of camaraderie, a bit of banter, a bit of a laugh.
Yeah,
nothing serious.
It sounds so. One thing I'm picking up from this is it's very specialized for for veterans. It is right up that alley. Just from what you said at the very beginning about the very first time you went out camping, you had this mix of there was two veterans, 2 civvies. I think is that the word? Am I using the right word? Yeah.
Right. So
Civilians.
I know what you're going to say, and
But you're right.
So
I understand it now. But
yeah,
sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to cut across you.
no. So regarding the mix, I was unsure of a mix. Now Kai is a civ. He's never been in the army. He's all holistic views of life and stuff. And he said, "Look, I want to do a mix. I want to do mixed. I don't want to just have this down to veterans. I want to open this up to because anybody can have PTSD
Yeah.
and mental health issues or problems, of course. So I went, okay, let's try it once, see how we go. And he was under the agreement of that, and it mixed really well because those that had never been in the army listened to the veterans, and it gelled. It literally went like that. I have
Yeah.
had no issues with people turning up and coming out of any. I've had no political views, anything like that. Lads have turned up. No one has. Yeah, it's gelled really well.
Mm.
And so all our camps are actually, even though it's primarily for veterans, it's open to all.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
I've asked these guys that do the YouTube videos to obviously put that out there, and they have. So the only thing I want a female to come along.
Right.
Just can't get any of them at the moment. So I am in a process of email. Yeah, I'm in the process of contacting a female YouTuber.
Mm.
Come along, because it's open to all. I did a radio interview, and that was a bit of an odd one. I actually had a moan at the interviewer after the interview, after we cut off, because she asked me really bizarre questions, like, "Why don't you run separate camps?" Well, no, because then I'm getting in the realms of being sexist. Well, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
veteran is a veteran, whether you're a female or male. It doesn't matter. If you've both served, you both sit around the campfire together.
Mm.
So yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing separate camps. We're not doing like girls one weekend, boys the other.
Yeah.
That wouldn't go down well in the veteran community.
Yeah.
And I don't want to segregate like that. So I am very interested in seeing a female veteran come along and give their point of view. But the mix is really good. So
Mm.
the civilian and the army veterans have mixed, especially in the last camp.
Yeah.
Our first camp of the year in April, we had a 50-50 mix.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and
first, so
it's interesting that, and that to me, I like this. I like this kind of these ingredients and the way different people bring things together.
yeah,
I was saying to my wife yesterday, I said it's like a wave that's coming in, and then another wave meets it, and it amplifies.
yeah,
And by different people bringing their concepts together or collaborating together, you get a
yeah,
bigger wave, and it gives it that energy. People say, "Oh, what's that energy?" And to me, I call that ingredients. It's like
yeah,
if it comes from different places. One of the things I wanted to say to you was about these tangible moments of success. And I think I messaged you. You sent me a message there a couple of weeks or last week, and I said to you about climbing, about hills and stuff like this. I've never been diagnosed with PTSD, but the work that I do, I know I have certain certain symptoms of it, and to continue working in what I do, I've had to try and find. I found it one day by accident. I saw something on the internet, and something in my head said, "Go up and cut down a tree. Go up and chop down a tree." This little voice inside my head, and I went up this mountain. I was like, that sounds like a great idea. I went up with this tiny little hatchet, right? I have it maybe 30 years, something like that. I have this hatchet. And I chopped down this tree, and I had anger, anxiety, tears, laughter coming out of me as I'm chopping down this tree. And as the tree didn't even fall properly because it was in amongst other trees. I didn't pick a small tree. I picked a fairly sizable tree, and it took me about, I don't know, the guts of an hour to chop it down. And
mm,
it didn't even fall properly. It just felt like this and stayed standing. But I was still like, okay, I have, to me, it was like a beard hair on the planet. I hadn't taken it out on anyone else. I hadn't taken my frustration out on anyone else. I'd taken it out in the world. And I believe some of the source of these things is the world, that there's energy or whatever that gets into you and you have to get it out. I had an epiphany that day. As I turned away from the forest, I turned back towards the forest and I said, if I have to come up here again, I'm going to chop down two years, right? And I
Mm.
laughed to myself. I was like, what are you doing? Like this. And I came home and I said to my wife, I said, I don't know what's going on. There's some very angry thing inside me. It was like the last man standing was all that was left. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but I had figured out that I needed to get out into the mountains. It was somewhere where I'd spent my childhood. I loved the outdoors. And it was some part of me that said, you can't sit at this desk. You can't do politics. You can't do any of this stuff. You need to get out into the mountains. And that was the very first part of the epiphany for me was um, this last man standing saying, I want to show you the answer is outdoors. It is out here. And from that point on, I started climbing hills. I used to bring my dog up, Trangia, cup of tea, kettle, all these little organization things, these little modules of thought that had to be put into a day out. Packing, thinking about packing,
Yeah.
cleaning up after packing, cleaning up after being out, cleaning boots. All these things consumed certain parts of time that seemed to alleviate an issue that I had. And then there was this particular mountain that I used to go up to. And I was big into politics. I used to, make political arguments. I'd sit in my thinking about political arguments. But I found this cave one day, and I remember thinking, is it a magical cave or something like this? Because every time I would walk up to the top of this mountain and get into the cave and switch on the camera to talk about politics, it was gone. And it took until the sixth time I got into that cave before I realized it wasn't the cave. One thing I realized about this cave was it took an awful lot of people to make it. I remember I used to think that was people coming together, working together, and that's why it was a focal point for me to climb to. But it was the sixth time I realized that it was the effect of me actually climbing. And by the time I get back down to the car, all this angst is what I call it. It's like an energy behind an anger or an anxiety. It's an
Mm.
energy. And the two of them are kind of like, I can't even explain it, but it's causing other problems it was causing other problems around me, in me and my life. But roll on 10 years, I've watched every single Everest documentary you can possibly imagine, right? Every single Everest documentary. And 2 years ago, I encountered a particular Everest documentary that talked about tangible moments of success, long-term unachievable goals. So this guy was a solicitor. He climbed Everest, and he explained it. He said, "What a mountain he said, my life is full of long-term unachievable goals." This is what he said. Everything is, he never gets this achievement, or some people do jobs and they get an achievement. A person who cleans windows, they can look at it at the end of the day and see what they've done. But what he said was when he looked at a mountain on a day, he could see the top of the mountain and he could get to the top of that mountain and back over 2 days or a day or whatever. And he said it was a tangible moment of success. And
Mm.
this is what I wanted to explain this concept to you because I went back through 100. It was a year later before I realized that it wasn't my perspective, it wasn't my heart, it wasn't the walking up the hill, it was the tangible moment of success was what was happening in me, what was making me happy because all of my job was not tangible moments of success.
Yeah.
And I went back through all 100 documentaries. I had them saved in a playlist and eventually found this documentary and I saved it. And I was like, that's what's going on for me anyway. That was what was going on for me. And that's why I sent that message to you. I was like, there's keys to this that I've found. There's keys to unlock it or close it or lock it or open it up and use it. And for me anyway, I find when I'm walking people, I bring people on walks all the time up to mountains, and we'll come to certain tunnel sections in forests, and every bit of grief and anger that they have, like I recognize it so much now. I hear it coming out of them. This, this anger and angst, and it's always in this tunnel section. It's like the womb, and they get reborn on the other side, and it comes out of them. They'd be effing and blinding about whoever's pissing them off, or whatever's on their mind, or whoever they lost. The friend that they've lost. Often at the top of a mountain, I hear about somebody they've lost. This grief. And that's what I've learned over the last 10 years with hiking is what is actually happening to me. And then seeing it with other people, what happens to them? What is this? How does it project itself on an ascent? Why is it being projected onto the ascent? What is this? Because there's a certain toughness that you need to actually get up there. The thoughts of going camping aren't there for a lot of people. The thoughts of going hiking are not there. But when they meet that angry man, the angry guy is the very last man standing. He's the guy that keeps you alive. And when you meet him, listen to him. He may say something mad and crazy like go camping or go to Project Jackdaw, but listen to him. Listen to that voice.
I always tell the veterans the next morning when we all sat around a fire drinking this XL coffee, I always say to them, I will check in with you guys. Because in the evening they always go, needed this, needed to get out, wife doesn't understand, civil work don't understand. And then I never ask them for feedback. I don't want to put anything subliminary in their head, so they got to give Paul some feedback. But everyone has given me feedback, so they all turn around and went, needed that, such a great release, enjoyed it, all that. So I know it's doing its job. Like you said, so if someone, like majority of these lads do mundane jobs, Monday to Friday, or some of them do shift work, and then they have no goals because they may sit there and go to work one day and one of the bosses might go, can you put the 50 pallets from there to there? Yeah, you do that. But in your head, you'll go, well, I've done the job, but I haven't achieved the goal in my head. So coming out to do these camps that none of them have ever done since leaving the army, they do go home and go, do you know what, that was great. And a lot of them say, can we come back again? We never decline a veteran wants to come back again. They can come back every single camp. Doesn't bother me. The army did say, how many veterans can you take? I mean, as many as I can possibly squeeze in. I've got 150 acres worth of land. It doesn't bother me. My team is big enough to cope with it. I mean, at the moment, we're averaging 15 to 20, average.
You were saying about feedback. And to me, what you're doing with each of these veterans is you're dropping little seeds. And they take a while to grow. And so I wanted to ask you what effects you've seen from people who've done it. Obviously, it's not maybe a feedback, and you're not getting to see what seeds you're dropping. You're not getting to see the growth of it.
Yeah, well, I check in with them all.
Do you?
I mean, it's time. I check in with them all. I check in with every veteran that's ever attended. I at least check in once a month, asking how they are and stuff like that.
Wow.
Is it time consuming? Yes. As we're getting bigger, I'm contacting more people. Always ask how they are. And there's that other little branch of, once they've done a camp, they go away. They've thought about it. They can open up to their wives, partners, and have a chat. Because some veterans turn around and go, "Look, I don't talk to my parents or my mum or my wife or my partner." But once they've done these camps, they always get back and say, "Look, I've opened up more to my civvy mates or this, that, and the other."
Yeah.
But it is getting to be that point where there are so many other veterans now that I'm chatting to. And obviously, I have a full-time job. So my full-time job as a teacher, I come home and then do my homework and then the veteran stuff. It's almost like now, I was thinking about it yesterday, that it won't be long before I probably turn around to the army and say, look, in fact, weirdly enough, I had the army contact me yesterday saying, look, they want to take the idea to the government and kick their ass about it. So there's a bloke called Lieutenant Brigadier, is quite high up, James Martin, and I remember he's like a really new officer. He's like so far up in the army chain of command, it's massive, and they've heard about it. And someone emailed me yesterday and asked me to do a write up and everything, and they're going to ship it up there. It's almost like me turn around and say, look, I can make Operation Jackdaw countrywide if you let me, but you got to give me a salary. Does that make sense? I'm
Yeah,
not. I don't want to be.
it makes total
It's
sense.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
almost like I will give up teaching, yeah, and
yeah,
fully commit doing this.
yeah.
So we are looking at doing another branch of called Operation Kingfisher, which will primarily be for civilians, which Kai wants to run. So we're looking at that. But I said to him, let's do one step at a time, mate, because this is consuming all my life at the moment, and I definitely ain't running two operations like so. So yeah,
They should give
yeah,
you you should get a holiday. The way there's you were saying about getting a full-time salary out of it or whatever. They should give
yeah,
you that, but they should also give you a holiday. Like
yeah,
I'm gonna applaud you, Paul, because I see how difficult it is to. You went out in the woods one day, and then you thought about other people,
yeah,
and that's a high level of empathy, and um, to be able to feel that need, and then you've been on that for so long. It's something that works and worked for you. Um, and you need that holiday as well. I read that from you.
yeah,
It's even if you got 2 days, you'd be able to switch off. You
yeah.
know what I
I
mean?
haven't.
And
I've
yeah,
been on holiday now for over a week and a half. I've got another. Well, I go back to work Monday. Um, yeah. So
but
yeah, I've sort.
you've been at home, and but what I mean is an actual. Is there some place you love that that you grew up in, or is there some place like that
I
you
mean, I got
always
listen.
call a holiday?
My hometown is Whitstable, and I go down there often. You know, I go and see all my old family homes, and a lot of my family have passed away. So yeah, I lost a daughter about 22 years ago. So that sort of it's really bizarre. Stuff like that has opened up again, where I sort of shut it off.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
speak, I don't speak to my ex-wife to even talk about it anymore.
They say,
So yeah,
there's sequences of time. I was telling you about saying to you about energy and whatever. There's an orbit of the moon that's every 18 years, right? Just when people mention particular time frames, I always
yeah,
think, um, like I used to love poetry, but I now know that it's not going to come. It's not there all the time. It's created. It happens for me on a particular cycle. It's like maybe I can write in 18 years' time, or maybe the sadness that I got in 2012 is going to come back 18 years' time.
yeah,
And that's one of the things I recognized was it seemed to be like, oh shit, there's a repeat on this. And even though as strong as I thought I was when I was that age, I still fell over on myself, strong as I think I am. So some of these things repeat or come up. It's just a certain trigger or certain feeling of gravity that reminds your body,
yeah,
your organism, where you're at in that time. So I think we are just one of the things you said earlier, we're starting to understand the organism. I think since the 90s, we're starting to understand things. I always like to reference Homo erectus. Nobody knew when a panic happened back in Homo erectus time, they didn't even know the word panic. They didn't know the effects of it, that somebody'd be pulling their hair out. They didn't know that, some person during a panic is really good at baking bread. Do you know what I mean? All of a sudden, this person is a master chef in a panic,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone has these individual things. But I think since the 90s, we're starting to figure out the mentality of the organism. And I think this is as much like going to the moon as finding understanding navigation or anything like that. To understand the navigation of how we think, And I'd say we're only touching on it.
The older you get, the years roll by quick, yeah,
Mm.
and the months come even quicker.
Mm.
So I know in July, late July, we're going kayaking. It's already booked. All the lads are looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So that's that. A week prior to that, I do an annual bike ride with all my civvy mates and army mates, and we've been doing it since 2012. We
Wow.
meet every year at a start point, and basically we do about 24 miles, visiting as many pubs as we can. There have been broken bones. I've badly injured myself. We wear our own t-shirts with our name on it. It's a good laugh. And then I've got that planned. Then we're kayaking, and then when I come back from that, it's time with the wife and the kids, and then we're going to Cornwall for a week. So
Yeah. So your
so
holiday's
July,
coming. Your holiday's coming.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that's where we are with that.
Listen, I appreciate it, everything you've discussed today, and listening to me as well. I know that's going
Yeah,
to be a task as well. And I wish you all the best of luck with your project going forward.
cool.
All right, cool.
So
You're a gentleman. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you
listen,
all the best.
you too. Listen, stay in touch. Don't go off the radar. Take care. All right.
Yes, take care, man. See you later.
See you later, buddy.